Hi there, I'm Etra from Games for Non-Gamers, and in this video I'm going to show you how to add a non-gamer tutorial that teaches the untaught basics of 3D games to your Unity game in less than half an hour with Etra's non-gamer tutorial creator. If you want to support updates to this project, please check out the Games for Non-Gamers Patreon, because I need financial support at the moment to keep this project alive and free for all. As a Patreon supporter, you'll get early access to updates and the opportunity to leave encouraging messages within these non-gamer tutorials. Anyway, the 30-minute timer starts now. Alright, so for this example, I'm going to add a non-gamer tutorial to this marvelous university game I made with a couple of friends. In this game, you play as a construction manager trying to stop the evil anti-fun OSHA safety board from reporting your safety violations. Since this is one of the greatest games of all time, it clearly needs to be more accessible for gamers and non-gamers alike. This tutorial will be broken into 4 parts: downloading the package from the asset store or GitHub, building the tutorial, adding the tutorial to the menu, and finally contacting me so your game can appear on my YouTube channel. I also have a small legal note at the end, which you should keep in mind. First of all, before anything else, make sure to create a backup copy of your project before adding the tutorial creator. This is good practice when adding any packages to your Unity project. The first thing we need to do is make sure our game engine version, render pipeline, and input system is compatible with the tutorial creator. There's a lot to go over here, so just bear with me or skip to the cool tutorial creator part if you want to look at that first. So we need to go to the asset store page for Etra's non-gamer tutorial creator or the description below to see if my Unity version is supported. Sadly, on launch, the only Unity version that is supported is Unity 2020.3, but I plan to change that in the future. There is no code that I have in here which uses Unity 2020.3 exclusive functions as far as I'm aware, so you could use this in future versions of Unity. You just need to manually update code relating to the post-processing that Unity changes basically every version, and UI events that Unity also decides to change basically every version. If your Unity version is not supported, join the Etra's Lab Discord below and reach out to me. I'd love to work with you and make a patch for the tutorial creator that supports a new game engine version. The same goes for the render pipeline. At launch, the tutorial creator supports the built-in and universal Unity render pipelines. I'd love to work with someone to add compatibility for the high-definition render pipeline. If you're watching this and don't know what a render pipeline is, then don't worry, you're using the built-in render pipeline, and you can easily add a non-gamer tutorial to your project. Regardless of your Unity version or render pipeline, you need to download some additional Unity packages to make the tutorial creator function. Most of these packages you will probably already have in your project if you're making a 3D Unity game, but you will need to go to the Package Manager, Unity Registry, and download Cinemachine for the first and third person camera, TextMesh Pro for advanced UI elements, post-processing for making the game look pretty, and Pro Builder to easily edit the level chunks. You will have to download these dependencies manually, and I set it up that way because if your game uses a different input system than Unity's new input system, here's where things will work, but get a bit messy. Etra's non-gamer tutorial creator uses Unity's new input system to easily support keyboard and controller inputs. So if your game uses Unity's new input system, then you already have the new input system installed and you're good to go. However, if you use Unity's built-in input system, Control Freak, Rewired, or any other input solution, you don't want to download the input system dependency because it will overwrite your input settings and make nothing work. Fortunately, there is partial support for Unity's built-in input system that you should be able to modify and expand, and you should be able to modify the input script to support plugins like Rewired and Control Freak, because all inputs in the non-gamer tutorial creator are controlled by this starter assets input script and this one UI event system. Again, if you want to join the Discord below, I'll do my best to help with input support. But the key thing to keep in mind is, if you have anything but Unity's new input system as your base, don't download the new input system, and you'll need to make a few modifications. So, with Peter Deconstruction, we know that it's in a compatible Unity version, It's using a compatible render pipeline, I downloaded all the dependencies, and I'm using the Unity input system. Now we can finally go to the Unity Asset Store page for the tutorial creator, click Add to Assets, then go to Window, Package Manager, My Assets, then add in Etra's tutorial creator. Or I can just go to the link in the description below to get the package from its designated GitHub link. Click Download and drag it into my project. We'll take a minute or two to add in everything, and ta-da! Everything should be added. So now we can go to Etra Games, Etra's non-gamer tutorial creator, scenes, and then we should open up the empty non-gamer tutorial scene. Here, we should have an empty scene with just an ocean. You can add a non-gamer tutorial into a completely empty scene, but this demo scene has a nice custom skybox, lighting, and easier access to the prefabs, so I recommend you make your non-gamer tutorial here. To actually make your tutorial, you need to go to Window, Etra's tutorial creator, and open up the tutorial creator. Here you'll be met with the Etra's non-gamer tutorial wizard, and here is where the magic happens. The first thing we do is select if our game is first person or third person. Well, Peter Construction is a third person game, so we'll select third person. We have a few options for our character model. Later on, we can actually easily replace the default armature with any humanoid character model. So we'll select that for our character model for now. On the next page, we select what mechanics we want our player to have, and what mechanics we want to explicitly teach our player. So in Peter Construction, there are no activate interactions, but there is camera movement, character movement, checkpoint respawning, no grab interact, jumping, of course, rigid body push. There's no sprint, which is holding down shift button to run, but there is this nice little air dash, which we'll teach in our tutorial as well. This already knows tab would give the player a specific ability like aiming, but it wouldn't teach the player that ability. So with all that selected, I'm gonna press next, and you'll see I have a tutorial automatically generated in the window here. But even cooler, ready for this? I get a live preview of my game in the scene view. The bottom of the list here is where the player starts, and the top is the end star where the player has to get to. In this list, I can rearrange the chunks however I want, and that will be updated in real time. So for example, let's move the Look X tutorial earlier so it's practiced more. Maybe like down here right after the jump intro, and I don't know if you caught that, but you know, it moves in real time. Super cool, in my opinion. And there's no bias in my opinion, of course. I can add or remove additional blocks by pressing the plus sign and minus to delete here at the bottom. I can also add all possible chunks for this setup, or revert to the recommended layout if I don't like my changes. Once I'm satisfied with what I have, then I can click Create and try out the level. Each non-gamer tutorial starts with a menu, then a pan down to the star objective. It moves back to wherever the player is, and it starts the tutorial. So I'll run through this level with keyboard and controller to see if everything is to my liking. After learning each key mechanic, we reach the wall of support, where we get encouraging quotes from the wonderful Games for Non-Gamers Patreon supporters. I think this is mostly good, but I want to make a few edits. First, I'm going to change my camera settings to be more like my actual Peter Deconstruction game. Next, as mentioned earlier, I can easily swap out the armature model with my Peter Construction model. Here's a quick tutorial on how to do that with any Unity starter asset-based character. Finally, I can go to the character's ability manager to adjust the move speed and camera sensitivity to be more like the base game. There's also a few things I can change in the non-gamer tutorial manager. While testing, I can enable or disable the opening menu and cutscene. I can force a specific UI on screen, so only supporting or showing PlayStation controls, for example. I can change the visual style of my game textures or the ocean through 4 different options, or load in a custom texture pack. I have more in my devlog about how to do that. And I can go to the level controller object here to readjust the level chunks by rearranging them here, Or I can select what type of bridges I want to connect everything. So we've got angled bridges here. I can switch on over to flat bridges, so there's no increase in height over time, or we can go no bridges. I recommend angled bridges, so the player kind of always is moving upward. There's so much more you can do, but most of that involves creating or editing custom level chunks, or adjusting UI prompts and making your own custom UI animations with the custom UI animation system. And I have a whole separate video about that linked here or at the end of this one, if you want to learn more about that. But hopefully, in most cases, these default settings should give you everything you need. Now that my non-gamer tutorial is all good, all I have to do is connect the non-gamer tutorial to my base game. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get Peter Deconstruction's beautiful logo here, and go to the opening menu UI and replace game logo with the clearly better game logo. Then I'm gonna open up this opening menu UI script, and instead of loading scene 0, which may work, I'm gonna make sure that when I press the back to menu button, it actually brings me back to Peter Construction's main menu scene, whatever it's called. Next, I'll go to build settings and make sure the non-gamer tutorial base and non-gamer tutorial credits scene are added into this so everything loads properly. And time. In less than half an hour, at a very casual pace, showing off all the features, we were able to add a customized non-gamer tutorial to our game. The next thing you should do is click the link in the description below, join my Etra's Lab Discord, and tell me about your non-gamer tutorial, or whatever things you put in your game to make it more accessible for non-gamers. If you do that, I'll give you free advertising on my YouTube channel, Games for Non-Gamers, as well as work with you to have your non-gamer tutorial working great. Also, if you want to help with this project, or just make your own level chunks and abilities with this tool, also join the Discord's open source developer community that's working on this tool to make it better and better. I'm hoping I can continue working on this project, but I've only got about 2 months of rent money left to keep me going, so if you want to support this project, financial support on Patreon would be greatly appreciated. Now before you head off to that next video, or to the Patreon or the Discord, we gotta go over just a bit of legal notes with this project. This project is free under an MIT license and GitHub, or a Unity Asset Store license. I'm pretty sure the latter means you don't have to credit me or put any references to Luke Etra Bender or Games for Non-Gamers in your project. Might not be the best move, but might be legal. However, in this project there are quite a bit of MIT licensed assets. Not a lawyer here, just a computer guy making free stuff, but from what I understand, components with MIT licensed assets must be credited somewhere in the software, and in the game credits if you want to be extra safe. So in this non-gamer tutorial credits scene, feel free to wipe me from the credits if you really want to, but all this stuff crediting the Crest Ocean asset, Lean Tween, and more have to stay, or you might potentially get in legal trouble with the creators of those free assets. So heavily modify this asset, feel free to, but I do not recommend removing the contents of this second credits screen, because if you do, it may put you at risk. With that out of the way, feel free to click here for another video about how to build your own level chunks and UI events, and click here for the devlog on this project. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.